Today we're continuing our tour through South Asia with a look at the golden age of the Gupta Empire, famous for making math class harder for everybody, but in a way that lets us progress as a society, so I guess it's a small price to pay. So having a look at our timeline, we are jumping up a bunch in history, right? Because we're taking a regional look, we're going to look at all of the classical period in Asia first. So we're jumping all the way to the year 319 CE. So past the year zero, which again didn't exist until soon. The Gupta Empire ushered in a golden age in classical India. We use the word golden age a lot in history, and for very good reason, because historians tend to focus on these moments when there's enough peace and stability and prosperity for society to specialize at a very high level, to make mathematical discoveries, to advance in science, philosophy, culture. A golden age in history is a time of peace, prosperity, and intellectual and cultural progress, so advances in the arts and the sciences. Numerous societies have had golden ages in the past, and generally, in order to experience a golden age in history, society first needs to have stable governments, economic prosperity to pay for everything, and openness to good ideas, to new ideas, some levels of tolerance to ideas from other places that you can use and build on and create your own. India had two golden ages, first under the Mauryan Empire, and then much more famously under the Gupta Empire. Remember, the entire region of South Asia has rarely been unified under one government. In this period of history that we're looking at, two states managed it, the Mauryans and the Guptas. As we learned last time, the Mauryan Empire was the empire that first made Buddhism a state ideology. It gave a little bit of life to that philosophy that who knows if it would have survived if not for the conversion of the emperor. It was also a time of political unity, which usually means some degree of peace. The Gupta Empire was better known for its advances in math and science, and there were many. Accomplishments include developing the concept of zero, which had to be invented, the number system, using numbers 1 through 9, which then diffused to the Arabs and are now called Arabic numerals. Figured out the decimal system. There was some plastic surgery back then, which I think is amazing, a vaccine against smallpox, and some pretty impressive architectural feats. Under the Gupta Empire, Hinduism again became the dominant religion in India and again became very closely wedded to Indian identity. So, in terms of the best way to rule the world, our Unit 1 question, the Gupta Empire answered that question with golden ages of peace and prosperity, which can be a nice break from all the violent conquest. Golden ages in history take money. You have to be able to pay for enough peace and prosperity for things to be stable so that anyone can even think about creating. You have to be able to pay scientists and artists a lot of money. There were two things, not only two things, but two things specifically about the Gupta Empire that helped produce this kind of funds. The first was standardized money. Golden ages require a ton of work. For artists and scientists to devote themselves to it, they need to be paid so that they can focus on their scholarly pursuits. Usually in history, this money has come from either wealthy families or governments. And in the case of the Gupta Empire, the government itself funded a bunch of innovations, usually with money that they got from regulating trade, taxing trade, and from the mines that the Gupta Empire owned. Second, long-distance trade helps a lot, and it's usually key in most places that experience golden ages, not just because of the money, but because of the intercultural contacts, the mix of ideas that help produce new inventions. Although the Gupta Empire ruled the largest and most prosperous empire in India, in the first few centuries after the year zero, which didn't exist at the time, it was not the most powerful in the world. To the west, Rome ruled. We're going to be looking at that in a few lessons. And to the east, the Han Dynasty controlled China. Between the stability that the Roman Empire, the Han Dynasty, and the Gupta Empire were able to provide to this giant region called Eurasia, trade flourished, specifically along a system of trade networks called the Silk Roads. This trade helped all three of these empires. Wealth passed around, ideas moved along these trade networks, as did money and goods and new supplies. And that kind of thing is fodder for golden ages. The Gupta story will end, as many of our classical civilizations are ending, with an invasion from people they would have looked upon as barbarous nomads from the steppes. In this case, an invasion of the White Huns, a nomadic tribe from Central Asia. And between then and the 16th century, so like the 1500s, there was no unifying empire in India, and regional politics ruled again. So there were like smaller kingdoms dominating Indian history. Keep your eye on this theme of nomadic people from Central Asia, because in short order, they're going to change history too.